Hi beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to hop on the bandwagon and make a video that responds to comment foolery. This is in response to the video that I posted a few days ago about how to respond to non-Black women who dislike you as a Black exotical. So if you look on the screen, this person made this comment because I included Cardi B in the thumbnail while making no reference to her or her ethnicity in the video. Cardi herself has said that she doesn't identify as Black, even if people suspect that she has some African ancestry somewhere down the line, which hasn't been confirmed or denied by her. Like, people are saying that she has Afrocentric features. I don't really see it, aside from like her tan skin, which lots of people have without having African ancestry, and her hair texture, which there are a lot of white people, for example, who have curly afros and they do not have African ancestry, but whatever. But I used Cardi B's photo as an example of non-Black women who adopt caricatures of Blackness when it's convenient for them. And obviously it's worked for Cardi because she's made millions. Good for her for finding a strategy that works for her to make her wealthy. I'm not hating on that. But then she'll turn around and kind of remind you of how lowly she thinks of Blackness by referring to Black women as burnt cockroaches, monkeys, and things like that, or just being flat out mean and borderline abusive towards her fan base, which is predominantly Black. Like, sometimes she'll be on live just kind of clowning women and just being mean and nasty, and it's Black women who are supporting her album sales and going to her concert and things like that. So obviously, yes, I'm going to use Cardi B and people like her in the thumbnail to emphasize the points that I made in the video. And if you're mad about that, then maybe you have the same mentality as Cardi B and other women like her. This woman in the comment is honestly an example of racist and colorist family members and people in general who will question your identity because of the color of your skin. So saying things like, oh, you can't be a true exotical because you're darker skinned, while ignoring the fact that you can be dark skinned and multiracial and or exotical and still have dark skin, especially if you choose to identify as Black. Like, they cannot wrap their peanut brains around the fact that people have fluid identities and that race, ethnicity, color, etc. are just one of those things, because race and culture is a social construct. And you could even argue and say, oh, the same can be applied for Cardi B. Sure, whatever. But she herself has come out and said that she's not a Black woman. So that just takes care of that conversation. But this woman commenting and saying that, oh, you're not a true exotical because you're a darker brown, black-skinned woman who is jealous of true light-skinned, exotic-looking women. As if being exotical, again, and being mixed only comes in one shade. Like, be for real. And then pretty much adopting the same mentality that women like Erica Mena, Cardi B, etc. have about Black women by equating being a Black woman with being crusty, crispy, lace front wearing, bacon lipped, dark women, hating on light skinned, lightly mixed, exotic looking women. Like, girl, your racism and your colorism is showing. She is probably an example of one of those family members that you have. Maybe it's like your Latina cousin or your white cousin or whoever that will say things like, oh, you're not as pretty as me, or you're not as pretty as so-and-so in the family, or your lighter sister because you have darker skin. The moment that you decide that you want to center yourself and cater to your image, because you know and you understand that no one is responsible for centering you. Okay, women like this are triggered by this act because they depend on your low self-esteem, on you centering them and their image, and choosing women who don't look like you, often people who look like them, to boost their self-esteem and confidence instead of just focusing on themselves. Like, why are you getting triggered by women creating spaces and centering themselves? Nowhere in that video did I ever call any one specific group, any one race, because I identify that racism and colorism does not belong to one group. Anyone can be a perpetrator of that regardless of race, including Black women, which I have mentioned in many different videos. But the moment that you see us centering ourselves, creating our own spaces, and amplifying ourselves, it is triggering to you because we're no longer centering you. Black women, darker skinned women of all races, of all ethnicities and cultures have been centering lighter skinned women because of their own internalized race issues and colorist issues. And now that more and more darker skinned women are creating their own spaces and their own representation, bullies like you have a problem with that, because then that means that it's less free promotion for you. It means you think that it means more competition and you having to share the spotlight with someone who used to belong to the underclass. What a sad reality that must be for someone like you to live in. Black women, darker skinned, mixed race women, multiracial women, whoever you may be, these ideologies just prove that your image is powerful and will create more friction with women who think like this. When you wake up and realize that you too are beautiful, you too are powerful, and that you too have the right to be confident in this beauty, okay? So keep pushing. Do not make yourself small. Do not shy away from choosing to amplify your beauty, whether it may be learning how to do your makeup properly, learning how to do your hair, dressing nicely, going out and entertaining attention from all races of men. Do not shy away from this just because silly geese like this exist, okay? They're not going to go anywhere, and neither should you, okay? You get to exist in this world and in these spaces just as much as they do. Women like this have bigger issues that they are not going to admit to. And so instead of them going to therapy or reconciling that they don't feel good about themselves, they say, you know what? I'm going to pick on who I think is vulnerable, or I'm going to pick on who I think is not deserving of love and praise. Keep pushing. Get away from family members, friends, or whoever, like I said in the previous video, who are like this, and get around women who have your back, regardless of race, ethnicity, admixture, shade, whatever. For this next comment, this woman commented and said, oh, please speak about Black women's bullying and racism towards other women, blah, blah, blah. It goes on both sides, which I unexpectedly experienced without a reason. Okay, well, you know what? That happened to you. It sucks. That's not our problem over here. We're not the ones over here who did that to you. So you need to take it up with those who have made you feel less than. Or like I said, you can go ahead and create a video about it and create your own space and talk about how much Black women are terrible towards you. Okay, comments like this try to derail the conversation by saying things like, you know, what about Black women? Like, what about them? You must be new here, because if you're familiar with my content, you know that I hold Black Exoticals accountable all the time, to the point that some say that I can be harsh at times, because I don't sugarcoat anything from any side. I'm a realist. I look at the facts and I present the facts accordingly, whether you like it or not, regardless of what side you're on. But the moment that I call out attacks from the other side, because both can be true at the same time, like I said before, Black women can be problematic, mixed race women, non-Black, Asian, pink, blue, purple, green, white, anyone can be problematic. Anytime that I try to call out the other side, you try to deflect and derail the conversation and place the blame back on Black women, as if to say that we are perpetually in the wrong. We are perpetually the ones who are supposed to take the blame for everything. And while we're at it, taking the blame for everything, we're supposed to kind of be at the bottom, not feeling good about ourselves. It's almost as if me putting out this video calling out racism, you could have just kept your mouth shut and been like, you know what, I've experienced issues from Black women, but you know, life is not one-sided. I can see where they would come from. Or even if you just flat out don't agree, you could have just kept your mouth shut and just said nothing and just scrolled past the video. But the fact that you felt the need to try to insert this in a video that is trying to empower darker skin exoticals proves that I have struck a nerve and proves everything that I mentioned in that previous video. Okay? Perhaps you need to do some inner work to understand why Black Exoticals calling out racism and colorism affects you to the point that you feel the need to make that dumb comment. Do you expect us to sit there and continue to take the abuse? Of course you do, because your self-esteem and many women like you depends on us being passive so that we stay at the bottom. But it's not going to happen over here. And in conclusion, if we can't be allies, okay, regardless of race, admixture, non-admixture, shade, ethnicity, okay, then just stay out of our way, because this community is growing. It is blooming and blossoming across the board on my channel and many other channels like this, across many different shades. So if you have a problem with that, you can go ahead and just stay out of our way or create your own content and get money that way instead of sitting over here hating. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and I will see you in the next video.